and headed by our Adipurusha Prabhu and all other senior Vaishnavas. And may I seek your blessing so that this recitation of Bhagavatam be in line with our Guru Parampara for the pleasure of all Vaishnavas. By the way, you can hear me fine? Okay, perfect. So,
Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis.
yes, thank you for the correction. Absolutely, Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis.
Yeah.
So, so yeah, let me start. Let me start with the verse before that. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, the Samam Bonam, Chapter 44. Do you want me to share my screen, or is it okay if I just read?
It's up to you, Prabhu. Up to you.
Let me share my screen. I think it's always nice to see. So we're reading, just a second. Yeah, we're reading. Should I share should I share? It's okay. Let me just share it.
Up to you.
Yeah.
You're the boss. You're the captain.
Okay. So I'll read the Sanskrit. Sasasena Vega Sasasena Utsasasena Vega Utpatya Mushtikritya Kara Ubhav Bhagavantam Vasudevam Krudo Vakshasi Abhadata. Translation: Furious, Chanura attacked Lord Vasudeva with the speed of a hawk and struck his chest with both fists. Hang on a second. Let me adjust my screen. Yeah. Purport: It appears that Chanura, realizing he was being defeated, became furious and made a final attempt to defeat Lord Krishna. The demon certainly had the spirit of a good fighter, but if he hoped for victory, he was certainly in the wrong place at the wrong time with the wrong person. Text 22-23. Nachalatat praharena malahata ivadvipaha bahavornigraya chanuram bahusho brahmayan harihi भूपृष्ठे पोतयामासा तरसाक्षिणा जीवितं विश्रुता कल्प केशस्रग् इन्द्रध्वज इवापतत्. No more shaken by the demon's mighty blows than an elephant struck with a flower garland, Lord Krishna grabbed Chanura by his arms, swung him around several times, and hurled him onto the ground with great force. His clothes, hair, and garlands scattering, the wrestler fell down dead like a huge festival column collapsing. Purport: Srila Sridhar Swami explains the words Indra Dvaja as follows. In Bengal, on the occasion of a certain festival, people erect a tall column in the form of a man and decorate it with flags, banners, etc. He, Chanura, fell just like such a pole might fall. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruvei Namaha. So we are in this chapter 44 um, of the 10th canto. Actually, let me summarize real quick. So for this discussion of today's Bhagavatam class, I've decided to divide this presentation into two halves. First half, I thought I'll just quickly recap about what's going on, and then the second half, we sort of try to take some takeaways from this particular section of the Srimad Bhagavatam, of the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So if you see, so I'm looking at the Veda base. So if you see chapter 38 to chapter 44 is like one section of the 10th canto. Before chapter 38, you see all the pastimes of Krishna, either killing the demons, and before that it was like Krishna's pastimes with the gopis, the rasa dance, and the Gopi Gita, and so on. And from chapter 38 onwards till chapter 44, it takes a completely different sort of direction. Chapter 38, you see marks the end of like Krishna's Vrindavan Lila, unfortunately for all the residents of Vrindavan. Chapter 38, Akrura comes to get Krishna. So from chapter 38 to chapter 44 is Krishna's pastimes in Mathura. And after that ends, chapter 44 onwards, Krishna moves on to his other pastimes, like how Uddhava goes to visit Vrindavan to console the residents of Vrindavan. And then Krishna goes on to do other pastimes like Shankachuda, the Shamantaka jewel, and other such pastimes. So unfortunately, chapter 38 onwards, chapter 38 marks the end of Krishna's Vrindavan pastimes. So Kamsa has been sent, like a quick synopsis, Kamsa has sent Akrura to go fetch Krishna and Balaram from Vrindavan, and he has devised this clever ploy of a wrestling arena where his plan is he'll invite them and he'll have them have a wrestling match with his most powerful wrestlers. And in that match, he'll make it look as if they've accidentally killed Krishna and Balaram, and nobody would suspect anything. And he's off the hook. He's not going. His reputation is not going to be tainted. Whatever little reputation he has is not going to be tainted. So that's his clever ploy, and he sends Akrura to go fetch Krishna and Balaram. And Akrura, for his own selfish reason, he's excited because he gets to meet Krishna and Balaram. So on his way, he's super excited, and it's chapter 38 describes he seeing these all positive omens, all positive signs, and he's really excited. He's rolling on the floor in the dust of uh, Vrindavan because he's seeing footprints of Krishna and Balaram's. And he meets Krishna and Balaram. They receive him well. He tells them of their plan that Kamsa is inviting them, and Nanda Maharaj summons all of the cowherd boys, and the next day they all depart for Vrindavan. And it's described on the way Akrura stops to take a bath and do his Gayatri, Sandhya Gayatris. And as he's taking a bath, he's taking a dip, he's seeing a divine form of Krishna and Balaram in the water. Krishna and Balaram displaying their sort of many variegated infinite Vishnu forms. He sees Ananta Shesha and all the demigods, and Akrura is completely blown away. And so that delays their sort of going to Mathura. And in the meantime, Nanda Maharaj, Krishna's father, and other cowherd boys are on their way, and they reach Mathura before Krishna, Balaram, and Akrura reach. So when they all make it to Mathura, it's evening time. It's almost, let's say, an hour before sunset. So Nanda Maharaj, they reached before, and now Krishna, Balaram, and Akrura, they're reaching Mathura. And as they're approaching Mathura, Krishna's seeing all this opulent palaces and archways and gardens, and because Mathura is like a big city, as opposed to Vrindavan being like a village, really simple village. So they approach Mathura, and Krishna seeing this entrance, he's seeing the approaching of the big city, and it's almost sunset. And now they stop at a garden-like place at the entrance of Mathura, a beautiful garland, because Mathura, being a big city, has these garden parks, the city parks, nicely sort of architected and nicely decorated parks of the city. So they stop by at the entrance of Mathura, and Nanda Maharaj is there. Akrura is getting off the chariot, and as Krishna is getting off the chariot, uh, Akrura requests Krishna and Balaram that why don't we take rest and why don't you come to my home? You can meet our extended family because Akrura is Krishna's uncle, right? So he's inviting him to come meet his extended family. And so he said, why don't you come and you take rest with us, meet with our family, and tomorrow you can go meet Kamsa. So as Krishna is getting off the chariot, Krishna gets off and then he holds Akrura's hands and he's looking at the distant sun which is setting. It's about sunset. And it said that there's a nice verse. It says Prahasa Niva. Krishna's smiling and he's holding Akrura's hand and he's about to say something. And it says almost like he's smiling. So externally it seems like Krishna is smiling, but it's like he's smiling, but he's not. In his heart there's something else. Externally it seems like he's smiling, but internally there's something else going on. And he's holding Akrura's hand and he's looking at a distance. He's looking at the sun setting. And the acharyas describe in his heart he's feeling a lot of pain. He's looking at the sun. The sun is almost about to set. And he's thinking, this is the time when I come back to. Sorry, can you guys hear me? Yeah. So he says, this is the time, sun setting time is daily. I come back from grazing the cows with Krishna, Balaram, and all of the other cowherd boys. The sun is setting, and I come back to Vrindavan, and all the residents of Vrindavan are eagerly waiting for us. All the older gopis and also the younger gopis are shyly waiting. And as it is described, the younger gopis sometimes, when they hear Krishna's flute as he's approaching, they even sort of move along the path and they try to meet Krishna and the cowherd boys along the path, little ahead, and they meet them along the groves, so that their anguish of separation is eased when they see Krishna and Balaram in solitude. So Krishna is looking at the sun, and in his heart he's feeling pain. That at this time, yesterday I was probably in Vrindavan. Not probably, he was in Vrindavan a day ago, and at this time is when we sort of see. So Akrura is inviting him, come, let's go see our extended family. And Krishna is like smiling externally, but he's actually in his heart, he's feeling a lot of pain. Krishna says, no, you know, I want to first get rid of that demoniac Kamsa. I want to first appease the hearts of all of my relatives to whom he's caused so much anguish, especially my parents. So without killing that demon, Kamsa, I'm not gonna go see any of my parents. So he says, why don't you go ahead? Tonight we'll all rest at this garden which is at the entrance of Mathura. So they take rest there, they decide to sort of camp there and then take their rest in that garden and then plan as next day they'll go to meet Kamsa. So it's still not dark. It's probably like an hour. The sun is about to set, and Krishna and Balaram they decide to go do some sightseeing. And as we sort of know in the previous chapters, Krishna they decide to go sightseeing. The first person they meet is a washerman who's a little arrogant, and Krishna requests for some clothes. And then the washerman is little arrogantly denies, and then Krishna liberates them. It said with his fingertips he separates his head, and then he meets like a weaver. In some accounts, he's also known as tailor, but in the Bhagavatam, is described the weaver. He nicely decorates Krishna. Krishna sort of benedicts him. Krishna then meets the Sudama florist, who really eagerly receives Krishna and Balaram and the cowherd boys. And then Krishna also then meets Trivakra, this hunchback lady. Does anybody know another name for Trivakra?
Kunja.
Jima Prabhu. Yeah, Kubja.
Yes.
Yeah.
So another name for Trivakra is Kubja, the hunchback. She has like she's bent at three places. So she has a hunch like this. So Krishna and Balaram they approach this beautiful young girl, but with the hunchback. So she looks at Krishna like this because she can't look upright because of her hunchback. So she looks at Krishna like this. So Krishna approaches her saying, "Oh, beautiful one, what do you have with you?" And she has all these ointments, all these like chandan, these beautiful sandalwood pulp and sandalwood paste and different ointments like kesar, saffron, and so Krishna is saying, "What do you have?" And she says, "I'm the servant of Kamsa. My name is Trivakra, and I have all these ointments." um, Krishna says, "Can we have some of these?" And this Trivakra says, "Of course." She said, "You are the best recipient of this. I have better than this. I have a lot of beautiful ointments for you." And Krishna says, "Do you mind decorating us?" She says, "Not at all." And she decorates them with all of the ointments. And Krishna becomes really pleased with her attitude. And as a reward, Krishna sort of decides to sort of straighten her, and he steps on her toes, and with his sort of fingertips, he places her fingertips under her chin and raises her chin. And from a hunchback, she becomes really upright and beautiful. And it's described that then she then becomes overcome with madhurya, conjugal rasa for Krishna, and she invites him over to her place. But then Krishna says, "No, I must now. I have an important business. I must first deal with. I'll come and come with you, come and satisfy you after that." So like this, we see how Krishna is sort of touring. He's doing some sightseeing with Balaram and other cowherd boys, and that before the end of that night, Krishna decides one last thing. Let's accomplish one last thing on our sightseeing. Is let's go check out that bow of Kamsa. Just like you see in Ram Leela also, you see Janak Maharaj had this mighty bow that, and there was a prophecy almost like only the one who can break this bow is fit to marry Mother Sita. and Lord Ram sort of picks. No king could even pick up that bow. It was so strong. It was Lord Shiva's bow. They couldn't even pick it, but Lord Ram easily picked it with his left hand, and he strung it. And while stringing the bow, he even broke the bow, and the shattering breaking of that bow was so strong that all of the three worlds could hear. Even Parshuram heard that. And Parshuram thought how impudent. He didn't fully realize who Lord Ram was. And he thought how impudent. And let me go test this Lord Ram. So anyway, that's a whole another story. So similarly, there's this bow of Kamsa, and the prophecy is whoever breaks this bow is brings the death of Kamsa. So Kamsa had this bow really carefully guarded by the strongest of his men, so that nobody can even come close to that bow. So Krishna and Balaram decide to go pay a visit to that bow. And so they somehow manage to sort of make their way, pushing aside all the guards, they make their way to the bow. And as usual, like the story of Ram picking up Janak Maharaj's bow, Krishna also lifts the bow and he strings it and he breaks the bow. And Kamsa is resting at this point. And when he hears the breaking of the bow, the sound is resounding. It's so loud and thunderous that Kamsa wakes up from his rest, and he's like, and he's fearing, like, is this what I'm fearing? Is that my worst fear coming true? Is this the breaking of his bow? And Kamsa is really completely paranoid by this point, uh, anticipating that this sound could be the breaking of the bow. So so Krishna breaks the bow, and all of the guards, they charge to Krishna and Balaram to sort of to kill him. They're shouting like, "Grab him, kill him!" And they're all trying to sort of attack Krishna and Balaram. But it said with the broken pieces of the bow, Krishna and Balaram actually kill all of the the guards of Kamsa who were there to protect the bow. And after defeating all of those guards, they go and they decide to rest, retire for the night. And they said that they both, along with the other cowherd men, have a peaceful night as if nothing happened. So much happened within that few hours. Krishna killed the washermen and the guards of Kamsa. But then Krishna and Balaram, it said they slept a really peaceful night. For them, it was another day. In Vrindavan, every day they would come across different demons sent by Kamsa, and for them, it was another pastime. So Krishna and Balaram slept a really peaceful night. But it is said that while Krishna and Balaram were sleeping peacefully, on the other side, Kamsa could barely sleep. That whole night, he was having nightmares. Sometimes he would wake up and he would sort of see things and he would think, am I hallucinating? Or if he's sleeping, he would have like these nightmares and visions. He was completely going crazy. And there's a nice verse in the previous chapter. It is described that Kamsa, when he would see his reflection in the mirror, he would see everything but his head. He would see a headless reflection. He would see his whole body but no head. And he would look at his shadow. There's a hole in the shadow. He would look at the moon, and he would see two moons. And he would sort of squeeze his eyes and see again. There's two moons, and he's like, "Am I going crazy? There's two stars, two moons, the two suns. Whatever there is one, he's seeing two, and whatever there's two, he's not. Whatever there should be, he's not seeing." So like this, he was seeing. He was having nightmares and he was having sleepless nights.
Godruma
And
Prabhu. Uh, if Krishna benefits even by killing, how come Kamsa was having nightmares instead of like unicorns and good almonds? Because he was about to be benefited by Krishna. Why nightmares then?
so we'll talk. This is my second half of the discussion about this is exactly the point that we'll discuss. So if it's okay, I'll just conclude my quick summary and then we'll discuss about that point.
You're just taking some time to think. It's a
No,
joke.
actually,
It's a joke. It's a joke. You can
so
go ahead, Prabhu. You can
yeah.
go ahead.
So I've divided this presentation into two sections. First half, I thought I'll quickly summarize, and then second, we'll talk about our takeaways, how Kamsa and others benefit from Krishna's pastimes. So like this, Krishna breaks the bow, and Kamsa's having nightmares, and Kamsa's so Krishna conscious in a weird way that every second he's absorbed in Krishna, out of fear, not out of love, but out of fear and anxiety. He's always thinking of Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. And it is said like he's climbing stairs. And as he's climbing stairs, when he's putting his foot on the eighth step, eighth stair, he's thinking eight, number eight. Krishna was born on the eighth day. So like this, every second, every place, everything he would look at, he would only look at in relation with Krishna. He was completely sort of in Krishna consciousness, but for the wrong reasons. And then the next day there was Kamsa is arranged. And there's a reason why I'm doing this recap. If you just allow me like few more minutes, and then this ties into the second half of why I'm doing this recap. And then the next day, Kamsa has arranged for this fighting, like this arena with a wrestling arena. And as his plan is, he has many checks and balances. First, at the entrance of the arena, he's employed this big Kuvalaya Pira elephant, which is the strongest of elephant in Kamsa's sort of artillery, his strongest elephant. And this elephant is more powerful than the other elephants. It has the strength of 10,000 other elephants. So he's placed this first check is this Kuvalaya Pira. When Krishna comes, he plans to accidentally have him trampled by this elephant. It was as if an accident. Oops, sorry, this wasn't meant to be, but it's just accidentally, as if he didn't mean to do it. And if Krishna escapes that, then comes the next plan B is he has these wrestlers, really strong wrestlers. There's many of them. Of those strong wrestlers, there are five really powerful wrestlers. There's Chanura, Mushtika, Shala, Toshan, and Kuta. So these five wrestlers are the most powerful of those other wrestlers. And of these five wrestlers, there are two most powerful, Chanura and Mushtika. So his plan is if he escapes this elephant, then the next is he'll have to deal with Chanura and Mushtika. If he escapes these two, then he'll have to deal with other wrestlers like Shala and Toshan. And if he escapes that, then finally I'll come and kill him. So like this, he's planned. Were you saying anything, Ananda Bihari Prabhu? You were mute. You're on mute. Anyway, I think you're talking to someone else. So you're on mute, just to let you know. Okay. So what I was saying, yeah. So the next day, it's a fighting sacrificial arena, and there's like a big pompous sort of arrangement for this wrestling arena. There's nice decorations, flags and festoons. The whole thing is nicely decorated. All the dignitaries have been invited from the neighboring districts and towns. All the brahmanas and the kshatriyas have all assembled. There's the yogic brahmanas doing some ritualistic sort of inaugural sort of sacrificial offerings to sort of inaugurate this wrestling match. And the big stadium arranged in the middle is a wrestling pit, and there's a podium, and there's all the dignitaries have been invited, and there's like the sounding of drums, and all musical instruments are sort of being played to inaugurate. It's like a grand pompous ceremony, and Kamsa is there at the highest level, and all you know Nandamarj and all of the elder Gopas are there, Vasudev Devaki, all the ladies of Mathura, they've all sort of assembled, and all of them are wondering what a strange arrangement to welcome Krishna and Balaram. And Krishna and Balaram, they decide to come a little late. And then as the story unfolds, Krishna comes across Kuvalaya Pira elephant, and he kills the elephant, and then he sort of uh, uproots the tusk of the elephant, and he proudly marches, and then he meets Chanura and Mushtika, and then he sort of he meets the in the wrestling arena. He meets Chanura and Mushtika, and Kamsa is watching all of this. So when Kamsa sees that Krishna and Balaram, they've entered the wrestling arena with this tusk, ivory tusk, and of course he knows that if ivory is expensive, the only way he could have attained this tusk is from his Kuvalaya Pira elephant. So by now, Kamsa is really, really losing it. He's really trembling in his seat, knowing that Krishna killed this powerful elephant. And then, in front of his own eyes, Krishna and Balaram, they defeat Chanura and Mushtika. And it is said that there's beautiful verses how the ladies of Mathura, as they're witnessing this, initially it seems like the Chanur and Mushtika, they're giving them a hard time because these are like huge wrestlers. Imagine huge, whatever WWE wrestlers, like 6'6", 6'7", like big biceps and big body, and you see these young tender boys. So all the ladies, the elder ladies overcome with maternal feelings. They're like, what an unfair contest this is. And they're lamenting, they're saying the residents of Vrindavan, the ladies are so lucky. They get to view this beautiful side of Krishna, and we are so unfortunate. We have to view this unfortunate sight. How unfortunate are we? So they're lamenting. And as Krishna and Balaram, they're fighting with these wrestlers. Krishna being the super soul, the topmost of the Lord of all yogis, he can hear all these lamentation. So as you're fighting, Krishna says, okay, let me relieve their suffering. And then Krishna and Balaram decide to sort of, they look at each other, they signal, they say, okay, it's time to sort of end the show. And Krishna grabs Chanura's sort of fist and he whirls him, and then bam, he slams Chanura to the ground. And then Chanura dies. And Balaram, on the other hand, sort of smashes Mushtikas. We see all this excitement building up. On a material sense, we might have fascination for sports or boxing or different sporting events, and there's like a build up, all the commentators giving sort of analysis, who's going to win. There's this exciting building up. Similarly, there's an excitement here in this arena, both on Kamsa's party. They're wishing Krishna and Balaram to be slain, and then all of the other devotees of Krishna and Balaram praying for their protection. Finally, Krishna and Balaram sort of slay these two, and by now Kamsa becomes really angry, and then he sort of hurls some abuses at Krishna, and then Krishna, to speed things up, then sort of jumps off to the higher levels of the podium, and then he grabs Kamsa, and then he brings him to the main wrestling arena, and then he sort of kills Kamsa, and instead he drags Kamsa's body to sort of let everybody know that Kamsa is dead. So this is the summary of 38 to chapter 44. So spoiler for those of you who don't know, Kamsa dies. So for those of you who haven't read Bhagavatam and you're wondering what happens next, sorry for the spoiler, Kamsa is dead. So this chapter 44 ends that way. So now, what do we take away from this sort of synopsis of 38 to 44? Now, in every story, when we listen to a story, there's different personas, and we attach ourselves to different persona, right? If you're a younger male, you'll attach yourself to the younger male persona from the story. If you're a woman, you'll attach yourself. So whatever your sort of background is, you'll listen to that story from that persona. If you're an older person, you'll look at the story from the perspective of Krishna's parents. So let's put a twist to this story. Let's put yourself in Kamsa's shoes. Imagine you're Kamsa. You're listening to this whole story from Kamsa's perspective. What if you're Kamsa? What if you're the bad person? You've made all of these arrangements. You've made all of these arrangements, different checks and balances to check Krishna, and Krishna keeps crossing all of these different gates and boundaries. And despite all of your best arrangement, Krishna manages to come across. And Kamsa was in constant anxiety. This whole time, Kamsa is in anxiety. And in reality, Krishna comes and kills him. But if you see, in reality, Krishna is actually just relieving Kamsa of his miserable condition. Kamsa has created this miserable condition for himself. He has created this whole situation for himself. And Krishna, what he's doing is relieving Kamsa of his miserable state. It's such a pitiable state to be in. Think of what a pitiable state Kamsa is in. Who wants to be in that situation? Constant anxiety for the wrong reasons. Anxiety for good reason is good. Anxiety for the bad reason, you've created this whole world around you. You've constructed this whole sort of, and that's our story. We've constructed this whole world around us, based on our aversion to Krishna. We've designed and architected this whole world around us. All these checks and balances, this is how I'll enjoy life. There's this nice verse in Bhagavad Gita, I think chapter 16. The verse starts, the demoniac person thinks. By the way, when I use this word demoniac, it's not meant to sort of use in a judgmental way, like you demon. Demoniac just means that this tendency we've picked up, which is actually harming us more than others. So this verse in Bhagavad Gita says the demoniac person thinks, so much wealth do I have today. It's going to increase more and more. This person is my enemy. I've killed this person. Tomorrow, I'll kill this person, and this way I'll gain more and more. So I think of that verse when I think read Kamsa's sort of this whole story section from 38 to 44 culminating in Kamsa's death. So Kamsa, most often, like us who have this tendency, people like myself, we've constructed this whole world around us based on our aversion to Krishna. It's like imagine you're building like a brick sort of brick structure around yourself. You're building the structure, you're putting brick and cement, and you're constructing this structure around you with no doors or windows. You finally put all of the last brick and you construct, and finally it's like a sort of igloo or some kind of a closed structure. You've constructed this brick structure around you, but you've sort of uh, trapped yourself inside. There's no doors or window. You've constructed this brick structure. Now you can't get out. So that's the world we're constructing around us. We're building this world around us. It's hard for us to escape this world. So Krishna crosses across all of these gates and boundaries. He smashes across all of these boundaries and finally gets to us, and then he smashes our demoniac tendency. So when this world around us falls apart, whatever our arrangement is, whatever our plans to enjoy, I want to enjoy this way, all this arrangement I have, sometimes either by, and I hope Ananda Bihari Prabhu, this answers your question, is
Oh, perfectly. Yeah, you've
so,
answered my question. We are the author of our nightmares, not Krishna.
yeah, we construct this structure, we construct this
Yeah.
world around us, and we trap ourselves in this. Like I keep using this analogy, imagine you're constructing this brick structure around you, and we finally finish putting the last brick, and then you realize, okay, now the structure is completed, but there's no doors or windows, and you're inside the structure. You can't get out. And so Krishna sort of smashes through all of these boundaries. So sometimes in our lives, we see either through Krishna's arrangements or through arrangements of the IV Prakriti or material energy, the world around us sort of falls despite our best arrangement to protect it. It's falling apart, and we're desperately trying to hold on to that arrangement, and it's falling apart. So when everything we know crashes, all associates and friends leave us, all the arrangements you've done is sort of failing. Your money, your health, everything is going against your plan. And so it's almost like whatever you've thought is going to help you is all leaving you apart. So all of this might actually be for our own benefit. It just allows us to break free from the cocoon. You know what a cocoon is? It's like a shell. It allows us to break free from the shell of this comfortable living. This comfortable living can be actually a really dangerous thing. Before you know it, this comfortable living can actually consume you. So Krishna says, Yasyaham anugranami harishita dhanam shanai, that when I especially favor someone, I smash all of their plans, just like Krishna smashing all of Kamsa's plans. So many things he had planned. All of the demons he had sent, Putana, Keshi, Yagasura, all of the demons he sent, and Krishna kept one by one delivering and liberating all of these demons and taking care of them. So that is our situation. So we have built this shell around us. Now, even in nature, you see like a mother hen when she lays an egg and she sits on the egg and she warms that egg, right? And when the heat has built up, the egg finally hatches and the chick comes out. So like that, we're also in a egg, and Mother Nature, like hen, places heat on us. And when the heat goes increases more and more, and when it becomes unbearable, we sort of hatch out of this egg of our false ego. So like this, Krishna places heat on us, and when the heat increases more and more and becomes unbearable, when we finally hatch out of that egg. So I'll conclude with this one analogy my Guru Maharaj gives. I really love this analogy. Not analogy, actually, it's a story. So he said one time in his house, a bird sort of flew into one of his bedrooms, and the bird was sort of frantically flying here and there. So our Guru Maharaj opened the window so that the bird can escape. But instead of flying out of the window, the bird flew into another bedroom. Then he followed the bird into another bedroom and he opened the windows of that bedroom. And again, the bird was frantically flying here and there. And then the bird went to the living room. And the Guru Maharaj, he kept following the bird from one room to another, trying to sort of relieve the bird. And the bird would keep running away from him. And finally, the bird flew back to like going to kitchen and different rooms. Finally, the bird flew back to the one of the bedroom that he came in. And my Guru Maharaj followed him to that bedroom. And then the bird finally was about to fly out of the window, finally finding the way. And my Guru Maharaj says, as the bird was about to fly out, the bird turned around and looked at me with eyes of terror, thinking, "You tried to kill me." And the bird then flew out. And my Guru Maharaj said he had a moment of existential reckoning. He says, that is our situation. Krishna keeps trying to open doors for us. And instead of using that opportunity, we look back at him and saying, "You tried to kill me." So when demons like Kamsa and others, they look at Krishna, Prabhupada gives this analogy. For those who are devotees, death is like a really sweet moment where we get to unite with Krishna. Like the analogy Prabhupada gives is a mother cat holding on to her kitten with her on her jaws. The cat is just experiencing mother's love, the mother cat's love. The cat holds her kitten in her jaws and she walks around and she drops. But for the rat, that same jaw of a cat is like the jaw of death. The cat for the rat doesn't enjoy the jaws of the cat. So like that for devotees, even the moment of passing is a sweet experience of a sweet uniting with Krishna. But people like Kamsa were averse, although it's for their own benefit, they don't see that as the benefit for their own benefit. So like this Kamsa was in constant anxiety. Day and night he was dreaming and he was dreaming of Krishna, and Krishna kept smashing all of his plans one by one, and finally he got through the final stage where he grabs Kamsa and he kills Kamsa, and this brought about Kamsa's death. So yeah. Anyway, that was some of the things that I wanted to share, and Ananda Bihari Prabhu. Sorry, I couldn't sort of address your point before, but if you have any other thoughts, please, I would love to hear from you.
Thank you, Prabhu. Wonderful class. You addressed my question perfectly. Thank you. And everybody appreciates the analogy that you gave, that we are constructing this structure around us. And
Yeah,
it's
I
nice.
just
Yeah.
one last point I'd like to add. I think of it this way: we are victims of the world we create around us. So that's something I like to always remind myself. Like, I am a victim of the world that I create around me. All the things that are happening, I am to be blamed. I created this world, designed and I architected. So I am the victim of the world that I create around me. Yes. Any other thoughts?
Dear devotees, please unmute yourself, say something. I see Jeffrey Eckler, Bruce, and Adi. Jeffrey Eckler is a co-host. Let's give him first turn.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Godruma.
Hare
Appreciate
Krishna.
that. I was thinking as you were speaking about Kamsa, how in for example, like say a management position, you have employees and you set them up in a situation where they might fail. But when you do that with the goal of putting them in a growing situation. But Kamsa here is putting Krishna, or attempting to put Krishna in a situation where he believes that Krishna will fail. And so it's interesting that, and it seems to be with everything in the Bhagavatam, that your intention speaks to the outcome, speaks to the process that you go through, and that no attempt or no process in and of itself is demonic. Because you could do what Kamsa's doing with the intention of growth. Like Kamsa could say, I'm going to put Krishna up against these big wrestlers because he's going to become a better wrestler. But that's not what Kamsa's doing. So there are these modalities that we employ in human life that could have demoniac intention or good intention. And it just made me think, like, do I do what Kamsa's doing? Do I put people in situations where they could fail? And I definitely do that, but I don't do it to kill them. So I'm just trying to figure out, like, to your point, what perspective do I see this story from? And I guess I was seeing it from Kamsa's perspective.
Is it okay to torture people to make them grow?
That's basically the question.
Ananda Bihari Prabhu, you hit it on the nail. I was thinking the same thing, that one can use that argument to say, one cannot use that point to say that can you use the same situation for the benefit, because our acharyas, especially Rupa Goswami, has listed the items of devotional service. So it is not considered favorable. item of devotional service to put Krishna through that. So just having a favorable intention, thinking, okay, this is for Krishna's benefit, one doesn't sort of, one has to follow in the footsteps, like that verse, Anukulina Krishna Anushilanam Bhakti Uttama. What is it? Anyway, so it has to be Anukulina Anushilanam. It has to be following in the footsteps of the acharyas. So Kamsa's mindset is like his tendency to turn away from Krishna. That's everybody in the material world. So, and then Krishna comes to relieve us from that sort of tendency, which is actually for our own sort of, it's the cause of our own downfall. Anyway, we have two other hands raised. I'll let uh, the co-host pick. We have Bruce Prabhu and Bhima Prabhu. So please, whoever is the co-host, please facilitate who wants to sort of share reflections. Unless Bruce Prabhu, Bhima
Okay,
Prabhu.
okay, Bruce, go ahead. Bhima Prabhu is humble. He can wait.
Hare Krishna. Good morning, Godruma.
Hare Krishna,
Nice to have you
Bruce.
back. We've missed you. I've missed you.
Nice
It's
to
been a
see
long
you.
time you've been in class. It's been wonderful. Thank you. Question is, you speak of us being the victim of what we create in the world that we create, and we get very comfortable within this creation. May you give quickly, due to time, so Bhima can speak, but just practical ways in which we can get from this cement at our feet, if you will, being stuck in this comfort, and put, in a way, our hand to the fire, as you were using some analogy of motivating out of this, as opposed to just sitting and being a victim.
That's a great question. That's a great question. So what do we do next once we realize that I'm a victim of the world that I've just created? What do I do to get out of the situation? So, I mean, a simple answer is that is what the process of Krishna consciousness is. It's not a step, it's like a process. So, once we take to Krishna consciousness, we might expect things to happen overnight, but it's a process. It's a process of purification of our own heart. And this process is a two-step process, the way I look at it. Just like we have a two-finger analogy. One is, of course, you're endeavoring, right? You're following the practices of Krishna consciousness. That greatly helps us to sort of come out of this comfort zone. But the other side is also being okay with Krishna's, like Sachinandan, His Holiness Sachinandan Swami likes to call it the bitter mercy of Krishna. There's two ways Krishna deals with his devotees. Sometimes he gives a sweet mercy, and the other times he gives us his bitter mercy. The bitter mercy is his tough love. So Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj also says that if you really have this guts, pray to Krishna, pray two things to Krishna. One prayer is, Krishna, please give me all of those challenges that are needed for me to come close to you, just like Kunti Maharani prays. That is one prayer. And he says, if you cannot pray that, pray another way. He says, take away all those things that stand in my way. So these two prayers you can pray. One is, give me all those sort of experiences that need to for me to come closer. Other is, take away all those things that stop me back. So I'll summarize this two ways. One is you endeavor in Krishna consciousness that allows you to sort of your devotional practices, your Shravanam, Kirtanam, your daily sadhana, your services. This is step by step you're coming closer and closer to Krishna. The other thing is allow Krishna to sort of be in your life. Allow Krishna to come in. Allow him to make changes in your life. Don't resist. Don't question. Sometimes there may be things you don't like it. Just allow Krishna to work his magic. So in the interest of time, if it's okay, I'll just keep my answer to
Wonderful.
this, and we'll connect more. Would love to talk to
Wonderful
you more.
answer.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bhima
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, Hare Krishna, Bhima Prabhu. So nice to see you.
Haribol Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
What do I got here? What do I got? 5 minutes? That's plenty
Yeah.
of time. Just like to say that as I'm out here, whether it be taking care of the horses or taking care of machinery, that there's a right way to do things and there's a wrong way to do things. There's instructions to be listened to, and there's instructions to be followed. And then there's the ignorance of going it alone, trying to find your own way through it. The world is a machine. Our bodies are machines. Society is the machine. There's a particular way to fix it, and there's a particular way to ruin it. I feel that we talk about, oh, I don't want to be judgmental, the demons this. No, there truly are demons. There truly are. Prabhupada said it. Prabhupada said it over and over and over again. What do we think, that these pastimes of Krishna are simply myth? Is this some storybook for children? Or are there people who really despise the idea of God, despise the idea of beauty, despise the idea of love? There are souls that have taken that path. And that's why Prabhupada always says there are demons and devotees, and then there are the innocents. But when things are broken like society, as we can see, if anybody pays attention to what's going on, more than ever, that we are given a responsibility to first light a candle, as Adi Purush always says, light a lit candle on the 50-yard line in a completely dark arena can be seen from the top of the arena. One lit candle, this has been proven, in a dark arena. So Kali Yuga is getting darker and darker. It's getting dimmer and dimmer.
Mm-hmm.
But if you should happen to be in the area, in the, let us say, the electric room, the switching room, where you see somebody going in to turn off to darken the place, to darken the arena, to darken Kali Yuga, and you have a chance to stop that person, take them out, in order so you don't have to light a little candle, so that you can just take them out, then you got to do that. You have to be there. You have to be willing to. And that's what Krishna's calling upon us. He called upon Arjuna.
Mm-hmm.
Even Lord Chaitanya, there was, it's a holy name that saved the Kazi. Is a holy name that saved Jagai and Madai. But remember, Lord Chaitanya showed Jagai and Madai his Sudashan chakra before Jagai and Madai decided to shape up. I just want everybody to be aware of that. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Bhima Prabhu. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, श्रीला प्रभुपाद की जय।
Enam Antaram Aravinda Nilayasasam Arhavatam Samvasitam Sundaram Antarako Vihamaniya Vichesa Sukha Hari Krishna Govinda Hari Krishna Mahammadani Govinda Hari Krishna Mahammadani Anada Simaya Dadu Dala Vibhagya Yummy. I have to leave. You can stay if you like. Yeah.
Thank you, Domi. Thank you, Adipusha Prabhu, for facilitating the darshan. Thank you. Godrum Prabhu for the wonderful class, for answering all the questions. Okay, I see a comment in the chat. Hold on. Damodar Priya says, yes, one has to be careful. That's how people end up doing horrible things to themselves and others with the excuse that your intentions are pure. Very good point. I think with that point, we have to be careful and remember we can't imitate Krishna in all ways. We can stand up against evil and still have compassion. Wonderful point, Damodar Priya. It reminded me of the way Srila Prabhupada bashed materialists. He was, what's his name? Brahmatirtha Prabhu says, Srila Prabhupada was an equal opportunity basher. If we bash somebody materially, we don't have to take sides, this side or that side. We should bash them equally.
Prabhu?
All of them, not just one side.
Prabhu?
You're breaking up, Bhima Prabhu. You're breaking up.
Haribo? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
There's a big difference between a materialist and a demon. Indra is a materialist. That's why they're in heaven. Most of the demigods have materialistic tendencies. This was straight from the words of Prabhupada, straight from the words of Radhanath Maharaj. The reason why they're demigods is they want to serve Krishna, they want to love Krishna, but they also have tendencies to want to lord it over and to enjoy. And there's
That's
nothing
me.
wrong with that.
I'm a demigod too.
Well, you look like you're from the lower planets, so I don't know what you're talking about. Anyways, the thing is that we must understand, and it's not so much that you go out there and get yourself a shotgun, though that's a damn good idea. But what you do is you don't comply. Do not comply. That's all I can say. Is you listen to Krishna and you take care of your family and you take care of your own and you judge a tree by its fruits and you do not comply. You do not comply to the government and you do not comply to these so-called lords of material nature, pharmaceutica, the sorcerers. That's all I got to say. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Bhima Prabhu, for throwing that in there. Always nice. Don't comply with your lower tendencies. Don't comply. Comply with the request of Srila Prabhupada to chant and hear Hare Krishna. I'd like to acknowledge Gita here in the class. Jeannie, Hare Krishna, good to see you. Are you logging in from Sally's account? Jenny. Jenny is a wonderful devotee. She plays piano very nicely, very sweetly.
Thank you.
How are you, Jeannie?
I'm good. I was completely controlled by material gunas, material energy for last 3 days. I'm trying to wake my higher self up with this call.
Nice. Did you like the class?
I haven't. I just joined.
You just joined. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, come again tomorrow. Listen to the whole thing. Ask a question. Share a reflection. Would you like to share anything? Whatever. Little...
No. I'm just joining, so I didn't get much of it. But I will listen to the recording next time.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Jenny. Thank you very much. Okay, it's Saturday. We can go overtime a little bit with Godrum Prabhu's permission. Would anyone like to make a balanced point? Share a balanced reflection? No? Okay.
Krishna, can you hear me okay?
Yes, Haripusha.
Gosh, that was a marvelous rendition. It's unbelievable. He told every single detail of the last couple of chapters. And the Ganesham Prabhu made a really nice point yesterday. He said, hearing the Bhagavatam is beneficial. You just have to hear it, that's all. That's all you need. And Bhagavatam says, Nasta Prayesh Prabhadveshu, it'll relieve you of everything that's troublesome to the heart. And it says, Shrimbatam Swakata Krishna, it says that hearing the Bhagavatam, Krishna will cleanse desire for material enjoyment from the heart of someone who hears. And then it says, hearing the Bhagavatam, you become fixed up in devotional service as an irrevocable fact. Irrevocable fact. You become really, solidly fixed in devotional service. So these are some of the benefits just of hearing. And the analogy is given, Prabhupada gives the analogy, just like the sun. If you sit in the sun, you get a suntan. You don't have to know physics, you don't have to know dermatology, you don't have to know about ultraviolet radiation. You just sit there, you get a suntan. It works, so it says just hear the Bhagavatam. So that's one point that he made. But there's something else about hearing. It says that when we come to class and we hear, it's a sacrifice for Vishnu. Just like the sages at Namasharanya, they saw the Kali Yuga coming in, they wanted to counteract all the darkness, all the terrible pain that was going to come to the living entities. So they wanted to perform a sacrifice. What should we do? What should we do? So what did they do? What was the sacrifice? They heard the Bhagavatam. So we get benefit, we get the dirty things removed from the heart, and we get fixed in devotional service. But also, because it's a sacrifice, it's an offering to Krishna. Krishna's pleased that we came to class. So we do it not just to get entertained or to benefit for ourselves, but we're trying to please the Lord. And that's kind of interesting. And then, besides the fact that we get benefit and Krishna's pleased, it says, if you tell somebody what you heard in Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna says, no one is more dear to me. Right? So Krishna's pleased if we hear, and then if we tell somebody what we heard, no one is more dear to Krishna. So Krishna's very pleased if we tell somebody we heard in Bhagavatam. So this is all about hearing from Bhagavatam. And then, just like he was saying, you get takeaway. Not like a takeout from the Chinese restaurant, but takeaway like you get some principle, some information in the person giving class. They tell the story, just by hearing the story you benefit, but then they explain something in the story that, just like we were talking yesterday, there was that little 4-year-old girl, Joyful, and I went in the temple and she was sitting there with her tiny little infant baby sister, and the other mothers had gone to bring the garlands to the altar. So I knew that Joyful liked to get some Lakshmi and go and buy milk sweets. So I said to her, I brought out a quarter. I said, Joyful, if I give you this quarter, can you give me that baby? And she didn't know I was just playing. For her, that was a very serious temptation, because she knew Lakshmi, milk sweets, sweet taste, and she really thought about it. And then she said, no, like that, very strongly. So I brought out a whole handful of change. I said, Joyful, if I give you all this Lakshmi, can you give me that baby? Can I take that baby? And her eyes got big. She started blinking. And she had to shake off the temptation. And she said, no, like that, very strongly. Now the purport is, what we might milk from the story is that Krishna is so wonderful. All of us will be tempted, just like this little girl was tempted to give away her baby sister for a quarter. All of us will be tempted by some kind of sensuality, and then Krishna is so wonderful that he'll give us the intelligence to discern, you know what, don't do that. So isn't Krishna wonderful that he helps us? So we get a purport from the story. Besides hearing the story, benefiting just by hearing it, we get some guidelines that apply to our life. Now those two girls, little Joyful and her infant sister, about 20 years later, they came out to Tompkins Square Park where we're feeding the homeless. They came together, these two sisters that grew up in Krishna consciousness. So they came out to the park. It was cold, it was rainy, and they made the sacrifice of coming out there to help to distribute Krishna's prasadam for the homeless. So I told them that story You know, when Joyful was 4 years old, I tried to tempt her to give you away when your body was an infant body, you know, and they thought it was hilarious that, you know, and then the older sister, Joyful, looked at her little sister, and they could see they had a bond of affection, that they are serving Krishna together for so many years. So the older sister looked at the little sister and says, maybe I should have taken that money. So the other purport is that in Krishna consciousness, even though we're dealing with profound, sobering wisdom, truth, that in Krishna consciousness there's humor. Prabhupada would do that, you know, Vaisheshekha Prabhu does it, Sachinanda Mars does it, you know, that we sprinkle in some laughter with the teaching, along with the purport and the benefit of being purified by hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam. Maybe that was too long a share. I don't know if it was how it all fit together, but I thought that it was hilarious when she said to her sister, maybe I should have taken that money.
Thank you. Thank you, Adipusha.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Okay, this was the class. This was the Q&A, the afterglow. Thank you for sticking around. Jeff Reckler Prabhu, would you like to wish our group a wonderful and fulfilling Saturday? Would you like to finish today's class by blessing them?
I would like to wish everyone a beautiful and fulfilling Saturday. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you, Jeff Reckler Prabhu. Godruma Prabhu, wonderful class. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, everybody. We love you. Hare Bol.